Hack Reactor is a 12-week JavaScript coding school that's graduated thousands of people. Graduates more people than Stanford, Berkeley, and MIT combined into software engineering roles. Average starting salary of $105,000. General placement rate in the 90%. So that's who I am. I'm not actually hoping to pitch you guys on a company today. I'm actually hoping to pitch you on an idea. So my background, I did a Fulbright in Korea in education. And then I started this company called Hack Reactor, and I am crazy passionate about education and how to help people learn in more effective ways. So what do you guys think is the hardest thing about learning? Shout something out. Motivation is a great one. What's another one? Retention. These things are great. For me, motivation and retention, these things come from having really inspirational educational experiences. And for me, the biggest blocker for that is that we're kind of flying blind as educators. What do I mean by that? I mean that we, in general, do not know what the people we are talking to are experiencing, by and large. So who is out there listening? Let me just check. How many of you are fellow entrepreneurs, like you have a company? Okay, and how many of you are investors? Okay, and maybe something else? What does this group do over here? Educators, yes. So fellow teachers. Is this fellow teachers over here? Cool. So one of the things I have always noticed, and I noticed my predecessor in the description here, or in the talk here, he did this exact thing, and I was like, awesome. People tend to not know who they're even talking to. Even in a classroom, you think you might know what your average group of 5th graders is. You don't, probably. You don't know what experiences they are. I've taught in both the inner city and I've taught in rural areas, and they are wildly different experiences. Some people have a lot more context. Some people that I have taught haven't used computers at all. We recently worked with a prison, actually, and that was an entirely different thing because some of them had never seen the internet. And I thought, how are we going to teach these people programming? So knowing who you are talking to is an incredibly important thing and what their experience is. So the reason that I want to talk with you guys about this is because you guys influence education very strongly. Whether you run an educational company or you invest in them or you're a teacher, you need to use these kinds of tools in order to help educate people, or you need to instill those in the products that you build. So I want to quickly walk you through a scenario. So let's imagine that you have a friend visiting you and they promise to text you when they have time, right? And so let's say you get this message. It says, hey buddy, I'm lost, how do I find your house, right? So you say, oh, you call them, but you get a voicemail, right? And so what message do you leave? I'll give you 5 seconds to just think in your head, like, what am I going to tell this person? Okay, you got it? Everyone got it? Okay, well for me, maybe it would be something like, all right, you're on the east side of town, and so I'm assuming that you are gonna like hit the I-80, and then you're gonna do this stuff, and there's gonna be a fork in the road and go that way, and then it's gonna get confusing, so just call me, right? Something like that. Am I mostly there? Okay, so then you get this. Oh, I'm on a bike, right? So totally useless to you now, right? And finally they call you, right? What is the first thing you do? What do you think? What would you do, sir? What's the first thing you do when you answer the call? So I call you. Yes, where are you, right? The first thing you would ask is a question, where are you? So that you can know how to help them the best, right? Unfortunately, we don't apply this very simple logic to our education patterns. Most lectures are presented as rambling one-way voicemails to an unidentified listener who you don't even expect to call you back, necessarily, and who may or may not reach their destination, and you will not be held accountable for whether they do. And wouldn't really credit your voicemail if they did. They would say they used Google Maps or something like that. This is the fundamental, in my opinion, breakage, and it is the single sort of like rocket that Hack Reactor has harnessed in order to really superpower education and accomplish in 3 months what most universities don't accomplish with 4 years. Although many of them are focused on research and it's not their main goal to get people jobs, This is the main rocket ship that we are riding to make that happen. Obviously, it's harder than street instructions, so we need to be incredibly even more focused on the listener and what they care about and where their context is. And this is where rapid iteration teaching comes in. And this is mainly what Hack Reactor focuses its vision on. It means collecting measurements frequently. It means reacting to those measurements in the moment, depending on what people say, where their context is, what they care about. And in lecture, it means checking whether people understand, sometimes uncomfortably, before you move on. So let's do it right now. So thumbs up, down, or middle. How clear does my point seem to you so far? Seems totally clear, I 100% get it. I have no idea what you're talking about or disagree. Somewhere in the middle. All thumbs. Missing a couple thumbs. Okay, down, kind of middle. All right, cool. Let me get even more clear. Maybe it's a little bit too vague. How confident are you that you could explain to someone in the hall what I'm driving at with the text message example and how it relates to rapid iteration, continuous connection to the person you're educating? That makes total sense to me. The text message example communicates that. That does not make sense to me. I don't understand what rapid education is. Somewhere in the middle. So somewhere in the middle. So this is wonderful, because with my 12 seconds left, it means that I can know that I got about half of the room here that's totally on the same page with me. And though this seems like an incredibly simple concept to communicate, like check with your audience on what you're talking about and make sure they know it, only about half of you have any idea what I'm talking about. How crazy is that? Anyway, I will be here afterwards to discuss it more if you're interested in what I'm talking about. But for those of you that were like, yes, you must be very surprised right now. And I would love to chat with you about that as well. It's our core tenet of what we've learned, and I'd love to share that with you. Thanks for listening, guys.